Hey, how's it going, people? It's me, Despian, and I've been playing a lot of Summit Arena recently, and I've been climbing the ranks, and I got to top 70 in the leaderboard. So, I wanted to talk about what's good in the current meta and what tier I would place the different units on. I play mostly the tankier team comps, and I also have a build Rosa and Mio. And if you want a bit of a tutorial on how to play the Holden, Tiamat, Lingluo comps, I could do a guide as well if you guys are interested. But let's get to the tier list. So I'll be talking a little bit about each unit, but the ones that I don't think have too much interesting stuff going on, I won't talk too much about. So the Andrews, I would just place in bad. Asshu, I would place in bad. Beyontin, in my experience, I haven't seen too much of, but I think she could work alright in certain comps. Her buffs are strong, the revive is nice, but she doesn't have any action advancing, no healing, so I would place her on just a good tier for now. Borgne, I would place on the meta tier, like low meta tier. He is very strong, he is definitely somebody you can build around, and he can be a real threat, but outside of his ultimate, he doesn't bring that much to the team. The cleanse is nice, but he's strong, but I haven't seen him too much. But if you have him, he's definitely something you can consider. Then him I would place in niche. He has the action advance, which is quite strong. Never mind, I'm mixing him up. He doesn't have the action advance. I don't think he has any place in the meta. He's not like he could almost go to niche, like maybe you can do something with him, but I would say he's like high bad tier. Then his other form I would place in high bad to niche. Like the action advance is nice, but you would never want to run him over like Tsukiyomi. I don't think he really has a place in the meta, unfortunately. Then Celine, I wish I knew more about Celine. Like, of course I know her kit and what she does, but I really just haven't seen enough of her to give a very confident tier. I would place her at least in the high niche tier, because I think her forgetfulness debuff has some potential, because you can make it so that, for example, the enemy Viper or their Tiamat doesn't use their passive to reduce the damage their teammates take, so you could use that to burst the enemy down easier. And the shield she provides does seem quite powerful, but she does take a lot of investment to get going, so people really haven't decided to invest in her yet. But I could even see her being like meta good, but unfortunately I will place here on the niche for now. Next is the red Chiaki. Her damage reduction skill and the healing does have some value, but I don't see her bringing enough in the current metagame to be worth using. But she could definitely have some niche usage, and who knows, maybe she'll find her place in the meta in the future. Then for the other Chiaki, I would also place her in the niche category. She does provide the action advance and the cleansing and the attack buff, but if her base speed was a little bit higher, I would definitely place her in good, maybe even meta, but she is a little slow compared to the other speed leads you can have. But I'll move her up to low good for now, but she's a bit in between that tier. Then Dinah, she has some utility for like one-shot Massiah comps, but there are better options than her. Like you could run Kloss, for example, Lily of course, and a lot of other units, so I don't think she's really good enough to go much higher than high niche, but she's about high niche, low good, I would say. Then Diting, I would say, is the first meta-defining or low, like very high meta character. I'll place him for the meta-defining for now. He has the capability to one-shot basically everything, except if you go like Bloodline and some crazy survivability, like I do, for example, with my comp. But in general, he is a very, very massive threat. But he does suffer from the fact that he's purely single target, and once he uses his ultimate, he really falls off for the future turns and takes a bit to get going again. So he is in the lower end of meta defining to high meta. I think I will drop him down in a bit. I added a new tier since I realized that I'm gonna drop too many characters into the niche tier, so I'll raise these two up to the OK tier. And DokiDoki I'll place in the meta tier. She has some very strong utility and her permanent buff is alright, but very slow for PvP. And her action advance is very valuable, but it's a bit awkward with how it works for PvP specifically. But she still has her own uses and she's quite strong. Fengus, he's good for PvE, but I really don't see his value in PvP. Freya, I will place in the meta defining. I would say about same tier as Diting, like they're both very strong. Actually, I'll place her above Diting because you can run her on the Revelation set to deal massive damage with her as well. And she goes really well with Massiah, she goes very, very well with Rosa, with Kloss. Like, she's really deadly if built right. Like, if she's really fast and has the Revelation set, she can deal half your team's HP herself alone. Then Grey goes into like the slower types of cleave comps. I would say he's good, but I wouldn't place him much higher than that. Then Heinrich I would place on the meta-defining tier. His buff removal and buff block are devastating, and he also does some pretty solid damage. Like, he's very scary to play against. Then Helkid I would place on the low meta to high good. His shield giving the debuff immunity and him dealing good damage is quite powerful, like he brings good utility to the team. Then Hoyan I'd place on the lower end of meta as well. She needs a lot to get going, like she needs the proper supports to actually kill enemies, and she needs all kinds of buffs, she needs to be built well, but when she gets going and against certain team comps, she can be a real big threat. Then Reverie Kazuyo I'll place on the top of meta defining. Her AoE sleep and her normal basic attack sleep are very, very powerful, and it's like the most reliable type of CC there is in the game. So with her, you can run her in any type of comp, or you can even build a team comp entirely around her, where you just permanently CC your opponent and don't let them get any turns. Then the other Kazuyo I'll place in the niche category. I don't think she just brings enough to justify the slot and investment. Khloros I'll place in the OK tier. He's just a bit too slow for PvP in my opinion. Like, his ultimate is very strong, but it's not enough to 100% of the time one-shot somebody like Diting. And to get the resets, it doesn't really have any value for PvP, so he goes just to the OK one. Then Kloss I would place into the meta tier as well. She is very powerful with her debuffs, like she gives a lot of damage to your team. She makes the enemy team deal 35% less damage. Like, she's just very powerful. Also, the action pushback is also really strong, And you can even run her on the Revelation set to make her also deal a lot of damage actually. Then Kraken I'd place in the very high end of meta. His freeze is very scary and he can like permanently freeze at least one enemy and basically keep the enemy team locked down. But it's not quite as reliable as Kazumi, for example, but still very, very, very strong. Lian I would place in the low end of meta to high good. She's very strong, but she's just too counterable compared to like Massiah and a lot of the other super meta characters. Then Lily I'll place in the meta defining. Her buffs and cooldown increase on the enemy team and everything she does is just very good. Just a very strong unit all around. Then Lilith I would place in the lower end of meta tier. She's very strong with her CC, but she can get countered by Lingluo, for example, and I wouldn't value her stuns as much as I would value Kraken's freeze or Kazumi's sleep, so she goes in the lower end of meta, but like she's definitely a unit worth considering. Then Lingluo I would place in the meta tier for sure. She's the best PvP healer because she can provide the debuff immunity to your team. She brings a lot of healing. She can extend your buffs. Like she's just a very strong unit to have built as a healer. Then Marvell I would place on the high end of meta. His action pushback is really good if you want to take the first turn, and if you think you can kill the enemy in that one turn with like your Massiah, your strong damage dealers, then he has a lot of value. He could even go to meta defining, but to me it's high end of meta for right now. Then Massiah will definitely go in the meta defining. He is the ultimate cleave unit, and if he gets a turn off and manages to do that ultimate, it's very hard to survive for your team if the enemy also applies like debuffs and all that stuff. Then Mia I would place in the very high end of good. She does bring a good bit of utility with her healing and the action pushback and everything, but she cannot cleanse debuffs, she cannot give a debuff immunity like Lingluo, so I don't think she brings enough value compared to the other options there is, but she's definitely still all around solid, like not bad. Then number 41 is just a bit too slow. The action advance is not quite enough, so I'll place her in the higher end of bad, but she just isn't good enough. Then Obol I will place in the higher end of okay. He has an AoE stun, which is definitely strong, but there are just better options for his niche, so I won't place him higher than that. Then Rahu goes in the meta-defining category. He's just a tanky DPS who deals solid damage, brings the defense up to your team. He can transfer debuffs to the enemy. He just all around brings good value to the team. Then RC77 I would surprisingly place in the good tier, because he can deal some big damage with the Revelation set, since he has a lot of hits on his ultimate. Also can stun an enemy, give the enemy's defense down, give them attack down. Like, his buffs are surprisingly good, but this tier only applies if you run him on the Revelation set specifically. Then Rilmocha I'll place in the high end of good. Like, if she can kill an enemy with her ultimate and get all the damage off, she can be really deadly. But I think she's too countered by Valerian, for example, and doesn't deal quite enough damage to justify a higher spot. Then these two I really haven't seen at all, really, but she could have some usage. Like I'll place her in the niche tier. Like for all I know, she's really good, but unfortunately I don't know enough about her, so I can't say that for a fact. And then her, I'm pretty sure she's just a bit bad. I added Holden in and broke the site with it a little bit, so don't mind it looking a bit different, but Rosa I would place in the lower end of meta defining, and since it's getting so packed up here, I'd move Diting down to the highest end of meta. Rosa with the Revelation set deals very insane damage, like especially if she has some buffs, she can one-shot an entire enemy team. And because of the Revelation set, she deals also a lot of true damage, so she can even cleave through a lot of the tankier team comps. But she is purely a glass cannon, so if she gets attacked, she will probably die quite fast. Then Sania I'd place in the meta tier. I don't think she provides quite as much as Valerian, because Valerian has the debuff immunity, she has the buff extension, like those are very nice to have. But Sania's heals are very strong, her revive is powerful and really nice to have, and she increases the max HP of your whole team to make them a bit harder to kill, which is also really nice. Then Shadow Sania I'll unfortunately place all the way down to the bad tier. I know she is completely insane in PvE and I wish I had her, but for PvP, DoD is just way too slow to get any value out of. And then her I will also place in the bad tier. Then Tiamat I would place in the meta defining tier. I think she is quite underrated. Her taking 25% of the damage for your team and dealing true damage and providing like shields and some healing is really valuable. You want to run her on the Bloodbath set with the Amber Shell, and that way she's really hard to remove, gives tankiness to your team, and is also very deadly. Then Tsukiyomi I would place in the meta tier. She pairs well with like Diting and Rosa and can give them turns way faster and giving them damage buffs, etc. Then she can reduce the cooldowns. Like she brings a lot of value, but is not as good as like Lily and similar options. Also, her being slower than the common speed leads is a really big disadvantage towards her and brings her value down a lot, unfortunately. Then these two I will place in bad. They just don't bring enough to your team to be worth bringing. Then Valerian I'll place in the meta defining tier. Her buffs, her shielding, her heals are really powerful, and her revive is also really good against a lot of matchups. I added a new tier to spread them out a bit more because the meta defining was getting a bit too packed. So I will throw these down to the meta tier and I'll keep the meta defining as these, and this will go on the new very strong tier instead. Then Veronica I will put on the high end of good because she is really powerful and the buff steal and spread is really strong, but it's only useful against certain matchups, so you wouldn't want to run her in every single match. But when she is good, she is also really good. So in certain cases she could even be meta defining strong, but she has a bit more of a niche usage compared to some other units. Then Vice I'd place in the good tier. His action pushback is actually really strong. The main problem he has is his base speed is quite low, so he will probably get outsped by the enemy Marvell, their lilies. But if he was any faster, he could go all the way up to very strong. Him also giving the attack down and only having a 3-turn cooldown compared to Marvell's 5-turn cooldown is also really nice. So I will place him on the higher end of the good tier. Victor unfortunately just doesn't deal quite enough damage, so he'll go in the okay tier. For Viper, his crit damage reduction, his counter attacks, his buff stripping, his attack down, it's all really strong, so I'll place him into the meta tier. I could definitely see an argument for the meta defining as well, but in my opinion, meta is more accurate. For Xiara, I'll place her in the good tier. Her with the revelation set deals actually a lot of damage, but she just requires a bit too much to get going compared to a lot of the other top tier characters, so good is more accurate. Yang is the only 4-star character I unfortunately don't have, but his ultimate deals 6 hits, which sounds quite deadly with the revelation set, but outside of that he doesn't really bring much, so I'll place him in the higher end of OK tier. I can absolutely see his ultimate being able to shred somebody and bringing a lot of action advance to your team, so maybe he has more potential than I think. Mio I will definitely place in the meta-defining tier. She brings the best speed lead in the entire game, and she's like a Marvell that also action advances your team at the same time, while having the ability to freeze like Kraken with her second skill. The only problem she has is you need a lot of effect accuracy on her to really make her work, but outside of that, she's just an incredible unit. Mizuki I have not really seen at all, so I don't really have hands-on experience with her, but on paper she seems like a weaker Holden because she doesn't bring quite as much utility and her damage is lower. So I would place her in the higher end of OK tier, but maybe she has more potential than I think as well. Then finally Holden I would place in the meta-defining tier. His action pushback on his second skill with the cooldown increase, his buff stripping, his attack down, his personal damage, his counter attacks, him being tanky, he's just all around a very good unit and definitely deserves the highest tier. I think that sums up how I see the metagame right now in PvP. If you have any disagreements or think I overrate or underrate any units, just leave a comment below. I'll be happy to hear you guys' opinions. It's definitely not objective, it's based on my own experience and some of it is definitely gonna be wrong. This video took a good while to make, so I'd appreciate if you drop a like and subscription. And drop a comment below if you'd like to see a PvE guide or any other guides regarding the game. And on that note, thanks for watching.